All right, guys, welcome back to the Go and Fun Esports Championships here at gamers.com.mt. We are about to get into the game number 2 of the day that will be between Gamers with Attitude and Ascension.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw one of these teams again back on Monday. That seems to be the story for this whole day right here. But Gamers with Attitude, that's another one of those names that's been around for a while here in these leagues. So we expect stuff from them. We expect good things from them. And it starts out with something no one, I don't think, ever in their right minds would expect.
Yeah, and that would be that Xin Zhao ban coming in by them, targeting at that jungle pool over on the side of Ascension. But we also see the Lulu being banned away by Ascension, really taking a priority, knowing that the Lulu is such a high priority in the current meta.
Yep, we got a little taste of the Lulu power back in the last game we just actually got to witness. It's just such a standard red side ban nowadays because it's so easy as a blue side team to first pick that. You don't really give away all too much.
Yeah, but we do have some disconnects coming in, unfortunately, as we saw the Syndra being banned away as well by the side of Gamers with Attitude. Hopefully we can figure out exactly what went wrong right there, get that fixed up. But I guess that gives us a little bit of time to talk about what we kind of expect coming in from these two teams today.
Yeah, and I mean, all those bans are going to stay the same, and again, it's just such a small sample size that we have, so in this first week, it's really hard to say we have certain expectations of teams. Sure, yeah, like Edge, we say we expect them to be the top team in the league, or at least one of them. Hayes, two very high-ranking players, but these teams, even though we got a little taste from them in the past, again, we don't have that really solid sample size to say confidently they're going to be this good or they're going to be that good. You know, anything in that realm we can't say for certain just yet.
Exactly. We will have to wait to see how they play. They have to play each other, really play around their own skill level to really see whether they're going to be better, worse, or right about what we expect. But I do actually expect both teams to have the synergy coming into this game. We saw Ascension on Monday. Sure, they might have dropped that game, but they did play admirably as well. And now we see Gamers with Attitude, like you had mentioned, a team we have seen before. They definitely have been around for a while, definitely a team that knows how to play with each other. So we should expect them to have quite the synergy.
Right, and instead of talking about the teams now, I would actually like to mention that last draft phase we didn't know for certain, but it is true Galio is banned. It's a global ban for this day at least, so we're not going to see that champion picked or banned. It would have been an exciting one to see, but I think everyone's going to be happy to allow these teams a full week of practice on said champion. Very similar to like LCS, who will delay their patches by a week after they go live on the servers.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I would have liked to have seen new Galio just to be able to spectate it one time, but we'll have to wait. Probably we'll see that coming in next week while people question whether it's strong or not. I think it's good in a competitive sense because it does bring a lot of CC and engage potential for a team.
Yeah, the issue we were talking about earlier, perhaps, is that a lot of his abilities sort of lock your character down. His new W with the taunt attached is 30% slow when you actually cast that, so it's actually pretty hard to land that unless you wind up using your flash as well to try and get that off. Even his E, very, very telegraphed right there. But there were also some other changes in this patch. We saw Miss Fortune receive some buffs after the pretty heavy nerfs she received in patch 7.5, as well as Gnar. Gnar is actually one of those champions that I would actually really like to talk about because I think that there is a place for it in the current meta. When we see a lot of these top lane tanks, Gnar with the Black Cleaver Frozen Mallet builds has been known to shred apart those guys in the past, and now with some increased health regeneration all times, as well as being able to Q his ultimate during his jump in Mega form, is some nice quality of life changes for the champion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely something that's going to help him out, as well as, sure, he got a little bit of a nerf in the Mega form, but the overall buff and the, like you said, the quality of life fixes coming in with the that he can channel abilities while jumping, as well as having just the overall life regen increase coming in with his mini form is going to be a huge buff. But right now, we are seeing more bans coming in. It will be the Lee Sin and the Graves taken away by Ascension. Well, we talked about the Syndra before, but now the Kled being added in the bans by Gamers with Attitude.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to have a jungle first pick for the side of Gamers with Attitude. We got the Xin Zhao taken off the table, Lee Sin, Graves, obviously much more standard bans, but there's still some champions like the Elise, like the Rengar available if they wanted to go for that.
Or the Vladimir. We saw Vladimir and the power he can actually bring to the table last game, and now that is going to be first picked by the side of Gamers with Attitude.
Yeah, it's strong. We saw it last game, even after it got set behind. A little bit odd build with the Nomicon that I'm not sure everyone agreed with, but it is still incredibly powerful. Not only just in lane, because it's very hard to have a bad matchup as the Vladimir, but also just you look at its teamfighting prowess. That damage is absolutely through the roof, and unless you build up some items like the Redemption, like the Locked Iron Solari as a support, it's going to be very hard to mitigate that AoE.
Exactly, but right now we are seeing a brand hover coming in from the side of Ascension. I would be surprised if we actually saw that locked in, but that has a lot of flex potential. I personally love that in the support role, but I also like playing things like Vigar and not normal things as a support, but it is going to be locked in, as is that Nocturne.
Yeah, two interesting picks right there. And again, I do think Brand is probably most commonly seen as a support. Sort of your discount Zyra. We saw it pulled out a couple of times in competitive play across the world. The more interesting champion has got to be the Nocturne. That is one that you just do not see every day. And it has the ability in solo queue games to really disrupt the enemy team. You cause the paranoia, no one knows where you're going, but against a team in a 5v5 scenario, everyone's in comms, he presses ulti, all you have to do is whoever's getting ultimated, yell out, hey, the Nocturne's on top of me. All of a sudden, that fear factor really is just completely negated.
Yeah, but we are seeing the Caitlyn and Taric being locked in by the side of Gamers with Attitude. They are looking to have that interesting comp. We've talked about Caitlyn a number of times. You've mentioned how you think she's the strongest AD carry in the current meta, and that being paired up with Taric definitely going to be able to help her out if she does get jumped on by something like that Nocturne.
Right. The one thing that Taric won't give is power in the actual laning process. The 2 versus 2, it's not going to match up to, like something such as a Karma would, or a Nami, or maybe even a Zyra. So the turret pushing ability, the turret taking ability early on should likely be negated here a little bit for the side of Gamers with Attitude. But then you check out their team fight. Again, already mentioned the Vladimir. Caitlyn too, once she's 3 items, absolutely going to tear apart members of the enemy team. And now all of a sudden, you have this Taric plus Vladimir. And Vladimir, he's already going to have his W. He's going to have the Zhonya's Hourglass. That's a lot of invulnerabilities. Now you've actually got the Cosmic Radiance as well, so he is going to be nigh unkillable. He's just going to get invulnerability, untargetability over and over again while he just sustains and heals on through the team fight.
Yeah, and add into the mix something like a Elise and a Shen that's really going to help out with making sure to keep everyone from dying on the side of Gamers with Attitude. But if we look at Ascension, they have locked in that Ezreal and Victor. They're looking for that Victor to make a presence known in that mid lane against the Vladimir.
I mean, Victor's not really going to be able to do anything 1 versus 1 against the Vladimir. At best, he's just going to simply clear wave after wave after wave, try and make it so that Vladimir doesn't get any actual advantage there in the 1 versus 1. But then come later game, of course, he will have that massive burst potential. He's going to cut through some HP bars. And Ezreal, while it's not going to be able to match up against Caitlyn necessarily in the laning phase, will also be able to scale on later with the first 2-3 items. Once he's able to pick up his Triforce plus Blade of the Ruined King, really will come online.
Yeah, but we do have the Shen locked in for the side of Gamers with Attitude, but we saw the switch over to the Rek'Sai for the jungle that will be coming out for them. They're going to look for some global pressure, especially with the Void Rush, with the Stand United coming in from Shen, so that will bring a lot to the table for that team.
Yeah, the only difficulty here with the Shen specifically versus the Nocturne is that you're actually unable to cast your Stand United during the duration of the Paranoia. Even if you know which teammate is being ulted, you can't even click on their portraits. That will not work while the Paranoia is active. So Esu, whoever's getting jumped on, is going to have to be able to survive long enough through the burst of the Nocturne coming on through. It'll very likely be a lot of attack damage being built up as well, so it will be up to whoever's being jumped upon to survive on through there. And really the only target for Feliz in this game is going to be Esu.
Yeah, and something I do want to mention is I find the Nocturne pick to be a very interesting one because while not many people watch the IWC regions, I've watched quite a number of them, and we actually saw in the LCL, the Russian league, that Nocturne was actually famously picked by teams in order to stop anything like the Rengar, the Shen, and the Kazakhs from really being able to have a full impact in the fights because they couldn't actually use their ultimates quite as effectively as they'd want to.
Right, and that's all well and good, but the really peculiar thing is that this was a first rotation Nocturne, and then you have these players on the side of Gamers with Attitude locking in the Shen for themselves, locking in even like the Rek'Sai for themselves, some of these champions that may actually be counteracted by that champion, and you sort of start scratching your head. And of course, in this case, maybe the Shen is actually a proactive play to try and dive the bottom lane, since you know you have the invulnerability of things like the Tark, like a Vladimir, if they do roam on down there. But if they do fall behind, if Feliz is the one making proactive plays, offensive plays here in the early to mid game, that of course will take a hit in its power as the Shen.
Yeah, so I think that will be something that's interesting to see is exactly how Feliz plays around that. But another thing that I want to touch on is this bot lane. We have the Ezreal and Brand matchup against the Caitlyn Tark matchup. We talked about how Caitlyn brings a lot of zone potential. She has a great siege that she has, but Brand, being that discount Zyra that you had mentioned, definitely going to look to pressure onto Caitlyn, especially with a melee support like the Tark.
Yeah, it's a hard one to call because even like looking back as far as Worlds of the past couple of months, Ezreal is a champion that really does unlock more and more potential based on who he's paired with in the 2 versus 2. So when you have something like a Zyra, like a Brand in this case, all of a sudden Ezreal is able to play a lot more aggressively, especially here in these early levels. The only thing that I might see negating the power of the Brand is the extreme long range of the Caitlyn pick. If Esu is able to back away, stay out of range of all the pillars of flame coming through from this Brand, all of a sudden that pick will drop heavily in priority. And of course, in the team fights we've been mentioning over and over again, the Taric will almost completely make that pick a wash.
Exactly. So as long as Wings is on point with those Cosmic Radiance, it's going to make it so that they are unkillable. Then you got the shields coming in from the Stand Uniteds, and then you got the healing pretty much just coming in from Vladimir as well. That's going to be an insane comp that is picked up by Gamers with Attitude. And Ascension, I feel like, have to get the ball rolling right away and want to make sure they have an advantage going into the team fights. Otherwise, they most likely should lose any team fights that do come up.
Yeah, still going to be very hard to gank early on with a Nocturne, especially when you're against something like the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is going to be able to make a lot of interesting gank paths here in the game, and typically it is going to be weaker against the Ezreal, but if Rebinol does decide to focus that bottom lane, you got a very immobile Brand support. His stun is very delayed. You have to land one ability before you actually can toss out the stun, so 2 abilities in total to actually make that one work out in the end. So it is a very easy champion to gank and just continue to punish if you are able to burn Chris Senpai's flash early on in this one.
Yeah, not to mention that it's only a 1-person stun, not going to be able to have multiple members, so
right.
If you see a good gank coming in from Rebinald, and please no ganks at the exact same time, you should really see that there's not much that the Brand can do to stop either of them. But now that we are about to load up into the Rift, I want to make a quick shout out to our sponsors. We have GO&FUN Energy Drink, The Point Shopping Mall, Costa Coffee, Smart Car Malta, Hugo's Burgers, Urban Jungle Jobs, and Malta.com, The Powerhouse, Gadgets, and Vibe FM. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring us, as well as a shout out to all the admins behind the scenes that are helping us with this tournament, that are making it so that we can do everything, such as Prime. He's doing a great job in organizing this tournament so that you guys can enjoy every single game that we can bring to you.
Oh yeah, the specific shout-outs right there. You can make one person really happy and a lot of others really, really mad, such as me. Why don't I get the shout-out? I want the shout-out, Magic.
I gave you the shout-out at the beginning of the stream.
You did, but you didn't say anything cool about me. You just said this guy who's also happens to be talking has a name, and I'm sure half of them have forgotten it. So I think they would really appreciate it if you reminded them.
Yes, my name's Alex Magical Voice. You can follow me on Twitter at magicalvoice_.
Oh, wow.
And I suppose you can follow my co-caster here as well, the Ender L. He is going to be at EnderCasts on Twitter. If you want to follow him, make sure to give him some love and maybe even tweet at him a couple times because he's an awesome fellow.
Wow, an awesome fellow. Probably the highest praise I've received in a long, long time right there. Oh boy, it's an exciting one. Already I can tell this one's going to be full of interesting developments.
And exactly, as we are about to load up onto the Rift, we will see how these two teams play against each other. We have the Gamers with Attitude on the blue side, and the red side going to be Ascension, trying to see which team can take one off of the other and see if they can progress out of the group stages.
Yeah, and once again, gotta give a quick little rundown of our starting items. It will be the triple rejuvenation bead for this Shen right here. It's something you do see a lot of the times up against these tank matchups like the Nautilus. He's going to be building into a Tiamat, into a Titanic Hydra very early on. That's what that starting build really does signal, and it works. It's very effective up against these tanks, so you can go into a side lane, just constantly shove them underneath the tower, so you can be free to use your Stand United and not actually take any damage on your own turret when you do go across the map.
Yeah. Something I didn't see was, what was Mr. Zarb's keystone? Was it the Fervor?
I believe it was the Fervor. I'm not 1,000% sure for you.
1,000%. Wow, not even just 100%.
Oh, no, it's actually Warlords. He's got the Energize passive on him.
So it is the Warlords. That's what I was wondering, because I've heard a few people say that it works all right on Ezreal, though I'm more of a fan of the Fervor myself.
Yeah, Fervor's a lot nicer, in my opinion. He's one of those champions that even when Warlords was really, really overpowered a couple of patches ago, and everyone was taking it, he would be one of the champions that could actually get away with Fervor, just because it's very easy to stack it. His Q obviously does stack that one just fine. So will be interesting to see once again, because a lot of people really do like that keystone.
Exactly. So now we are just seeing some standard starts coming in. Feliz going for the red side instead, going to try to get that red buff and want to see if he can path down, maybe go for a gank, as we see Sweet Thing getting pushed out a little by Chongi.
Yeah, and maybe even Feliz is going to go for an aggressive invade to start off the game. This isn't what you would typically expect coming out of a Nocturne, and stealing away a blue, in all honesty, not going to hurt the Rek'Sai too much, but there is potential if Rebinold goes for the 3 camp as his blue to meet up here with Feliz.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on that and see exactly how it's going, because it's at 50%, but we do see Rebinold actually going to go for the Wolves, so he won't know that Feliz took the blue buff until it's too late. So most likely going to be a 3 buff start coming in from Feliz.
Yeah, again, not going to be a huge difference maker. The Rek'Sai really doesn't care about that buff too much, but it does make the pathing rather awkward here for Rebinold, especially because Feliz went straight after that into the Scuttle, but he won't quite be level 3 here, and that is the advantage that Rebinold does have over him.
Yeah, and I was kind of interested to see if we were going to see a gank coming in from Rebinold into that top lane, but the Scuttle Crab had been taken by Feliz.
Right.
So that Rebinold didn't feel quite as confident going for that one.
Right, and again, talking about the pathing, typically if you get your blue buff stolen like this, and you know what happens in advance, you're going to steal the enemy blue. But he's on the wrong side of the map, so it'd be very easy to go Gromp into Scuttle. But that's another thing that Feliz took off the table, so now he's really only got 1 camp available for him on the bottom half of the map, unless he wants to try and counter that blue buff, which, if Feliz continues to jungle on his own top half of the map, he may give up that buff of his own.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem that Rebinold is confident enough to go for that invade, not knowing the health of Feliz, not knowing where he is at. So we do see that Scryer's Bloom will actually spawn out. The blue buff is still there for Rebinold, but he still paths for those Scruggs.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit too cautious of pathing, in all honesty, by Rebnold. You're not going to be out-dueled by the Nocturne in the early game. Maybe you get out-dueled, but it's very easy just to tunnel away if you are the Rek'Sai. And if things do go poorly for you, you get out of dodge, you go back, farm your Krugs, and it's literally just the same effect as farming this right away, with the bonus of potentially actually stealing away a camp or two.
Exactly, and now Feliz has been able to get it back, has himself that Chilling Smite, so he'll stay a little bit healthier, as well as getting the refillable potion to fill back up. So he's going to be confident in going for any sort of jungle path that he really wants to right now.
Right, and for a champion that really does love reaching that level 6 as soon as possible, he will have a pretty distinct advantage here over Rebnold. Again, he's also got a Scuttle on that side of the map as well, so when you look at it in the end, he is going to be up 2 Scuttle Crabs, as well as a blue buff that's not in the pocket of Rebnold, and while that's not going to be a massive amount of experience, it will be enough that he reaches it earlier than Rebnold, and perhaps can surprise some of the laners here on GWA's side.
Yeah, as we do see the level advantage going over to Feliz now. He is going to path down that way. And something I do want to mention is the level 6 Paranoia that's going to be coming in from Feliz is a very low range. It's not very impactful at, as it seems like with its range alone. It's the fact that at least it gives something to this very immobile Nocturne to begin with.
Right, what he's going to have to do is go to a lane that has gank set up. So mid lane, probably not going to be an option. It's Victor versus Vladimir. There's no real potential there, but hold on just a moment.
Yeah, we do see Feliz getting knocked up. He is fighting Rebnold a little bit, but here comes Chongi. He used that ghost to try to get over to Feliz quicker, but because it has the ramp-up time now, he wasn't able to make it, so Feliz was able to get to safety.
Yeah, still Ghost, a summoner that you can just burn pretty freely here in the laning phase, especially as a mid laner. It's honestly surprising to see both of these mids taking the Ghost spell. We saw how impactful the Ignite actually was last time around, but please no ganks, because he's actually been getting shoved in underneath his turret. The early Nautilus with the E wave clear, very powerful in that he's going to be down in levels. He's not really going to be able to use his ultimate, because if he does, either it's very easy for Xerxes to cancel it, or he's going to get down some solid damage on the turret until Please No Ganks picks up a Tiamat.
Yeah, very true. That's something that's going to be really helpful for the Shen, and usually see that Tiamat, the Titanic Rush, come in.
Here's Rebnold.
Able to push. Yeah, Rebnold coming in. That's the depth charge on to Please No Ganks. He's very low. Got to be really careful. He flashes away as Xerxes is going to be fighting Rebnold. He does have his flash still available, but does not use it. Here comes the flash in from Rebnold. That gives the first blood to that Rek'Sai.
Show him some respect, man. Xerxes, you've got the ability. You know the exact play that Rebnold is going to make. He's going to burrow until the circle around you, the timer around you runs out so he can get that knock up once more. And you can't reactively flash to the Rek'Sai flash knockup. Very similar to how you can't get away from a Gragas if he does his body slam flash unless you use it proactively. And sure, maybe you flash and Rebnold doesn't match you with that, but at least you survive. You don't give a kill over, you don't give an assist over towards your enemy top laner, and the lane that was going well for him, now Please No Ganks gets a free recall in and picks up that key Tiamat.
Exactly. Going to be able to finally push in Xerxes. Going to be able to handle that Nautilus a lot easier, though we do see Xerxes just going right back in and trying to fight that Chen all the time.
Right. Feliz as well. He's got his red buff coming up soon, and that will be probably when he hits level 6. Again, not exactly sure, but it should be coming up very, very quickly for him. And at that point, that will be when he starts trying to look and make some plays across the map. He could even go into this top lane, focus the source of the globals, because Please No Ganks did burn his own flash in that last gank. And again, Xerxes held on to his to try and assist here.
Yeah, we do have Fleas in the area. They're going to use the Paranoia on to Please No Ganks, have the damage to the Fury. That Drudge lane, they get the kill, but in the mid lane, they get the flash out of Sweet Fang.
Yeah, that's a pretty predictable gank right there, in all honesty. If you are Please No Ganks, there's no reason for him to play up that far, but it is the power of the Nocturne. You have to ward deeper inside his jungle to see him actually pathing towards your lane, because the time he was actually spotted out on that ward in the river, it was actually just way too late for Please No Ganks to react to. And once again, Feliz offensively inside the jungle. He's stealing away that blue buff once more, even though Rebnold knows that he was likely going to make that play.
Yeah, and we actually do see that Revenant is going for a little bit of an invade deep into that jungle, but it actually looks like he's pathing more for a gank. He's gonna unburrow.
Here we go.
Want to get onto Chris. They have that dazzle. They knock him up. Here is the ultimate as well. That Pyroclasm is gonna try to see what it can do, but in the mid lane, the Hemo Plague will pick up the kill onto Sweet Thing.
Yeah, nice kill in the mid, but down bottom lane, the trap was actually missed by Asu. It was really good. Now top lane.
Oh, top lane, please no ganks. He's got that Shadow Dash. He's trying to see if he can lock him
what?
up under tower. That was a lot taken by Flash out of that one, or he would have died.
Xerxes could have gotten one more auto attack in before he actually used the flash. Probably could have actually gotten the kill right there, but still really bullying around the Shen that we thought was actually going to have a good time here in the 1 versus 1. The return gank by Feliz was enough to maintain or give Xerxes back that pressure in the matchup, and Please No Gank still has no flash, so he's going to be worrying that Feliz can revisit in just a moment's notice.
Yeah, also, a lot has to do with the 2 Dorm rings picked up by Xerxes. Definitely going to go for more of that early game pressure since he has high base damage on that Nautilus already.
Yeah, the high base damage, the easy wave clear, all of these great tools. And Please No Ganks has actually been denied pretty heavily underneath this turret. The Tiamat actually does make it sometimes challenging to farm underneath the tower. He's down almost 20 CS in that matchup. Of course, the rest of the map is sort of making up for that because mid lane, AD carry position, both those lanes are 10 CS up respectively. So the gold lead not going to be too much either way here.
No, and Please No Ganks is finally going to get some under his belt as well, as he's just trying to push up this lane so that he can get himself possibly more of the makings that Jerome's fist for that Titanic Hydra. But I think an important thing to note here is the difference we are seeing in the bot lane champions. We see from Esu, he has himself that BF sword as well as the recurve bow, going to go in for that Brunon's Hurricane as he already has a lot of that attack damage. But then Mr. Zarb, he has the makings of that Triforce on that Ezreal, not opting to go for that Blade of the Ruined King rush.
Oh yeah, you're never going to rush the Blade of the Ruined King on the Ezreal. Tier into Triforce, finish your Mirror Mana, then you get the Blade of the Ruined King as a third item. There's pretty much no variation in that build path unless you need an earlier QSS. And this game, probably not going to be the case. It'll be fairly easy to dodge away from Taric stuns, from Rek'Sai knockups, as well as the Shen taunt.
Yeah, though I will give a lot of credit over to Wings. He has been doing a great job with those dazzles and landing them onto not just Chris Senpai, but also onto Mr. Zarb.
And same cannot be said for Chris Senpai, landing all of the stuns. The brand pick really hasn't had much effectiveness in this lane. Again, it was supposed to help allow this Ezreal to play a little bit more offensive, to get slightly more aggressive, but instead, it's just been very neutral, which the Taric is very much going to enjoy.
Yeah, but we do see that Feliz is in that bot lane. He's in the bush, hiding away as we see Sweet Thing getting hit again by Revenant. But now here comes the stun. Here comes the Paranoia onto Esu. He will have the Cosmic Radiance popped on by Wings, so that will keep him alive from that game.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit disappointed. Please No Ginks didn't channel the Stand United after the Paranoia. There was potential to actually re-engage that because at the same time, Rebenold was on the bottom half of the map and he might actually just clash you with Feliz.
Yeah, he is.
Ooh, nice
good
spell
shield coming in. He has the fear coming in. That's going to be Ezreal with Mr. Zarb going to be able to secure that kill.
Yeah, Mr. Zarb did pop the heal, but it was still a good play. He got himself the kill, and Rebenold just not giving respect. It's a completed Warrior Enchantment Nocturne. The difference between a Caulfield's Warhammer and the Warrior Enchant is 40 attack damage. That's absolutely huge for the cost difference between those two items, and as such, he's easily able to 1 versus 1 Rebenold up until the point where Mr. Zarb just came over to last hit him away.
Now, here's a question for you. Warrior Enchantment or Blood Razor for Nocturne? What do you consider more impactful?
I think the Warrior's going to be a little bit better, especially when you're against a lot of hard crowd control, because the ability to actually get down a lot of auto attacks in a fight is going to be very, very difficult. In the Warrior, it adds to your burst. If you're only getting a couple of autos down, it should still be enough to burst your opponent when you're building more and more AD afterwards.
Yeah, that's a great point. definitely going to help out with these earlier ganks. And Feliz has actually been doing quite the good job with that now that he has hit that level 6. You see another flash from Sweet Thing as well as that ghost being popped to keep himself away from Chungi.
Yeah, so when I said the Victor was meant just to try and stall out and survive this laning phase, I really did mean that. And even then, it's a very hard thing to actually do. Vladimir's a champion that can just all-in you whenever he pleases. There's really no cost for him to do so. He doesn't have mana. His cooldowns aren't going to be all that large. And of course, if he ever does get into trouble, he has the W, the Sanguine Pool, just to drop aggro and back clearly away. So he's easily able to burn 2 summoners and deny some minions to the mid lane tower.
Yeah, and that is exactly what we've seen Chungi being able to do into that Victor, not taking that lightly at all. He definitely wants to keep up this kill pressure in that lane. Even has 2 stacks on that Dark Seal, wants to keep stacking them up, see if he can get that full stack on the Dark Seal before possibly having to trade that in. Right now, we are just seeing pretty standard pushes coming in. No real lane has an advantage with that pushing potential. We see in the top lane, Xerxes just trying to freeze the lane as he has a rather large minion wave built up for himself. Please no gank. Just gonna try to CS as best he can until he feels that he has to get out of there, because Xerxes does still have that potential to do a lot of damage to him at this point.
Yeah, and Revenold's spending a fair amount of time up here. Perhaps going for a gank now.
Yeah, they are going to try to get that knockup onto Xerxes. Didn't get the unburrow, though. So there's finally that unburrow, but the tankiness from that Nautilus, he's going to be by his tower. He's not afraid. He'll be safe.
Yeah, and at the same time, Feliz and Sweet Thing trying to make something happen on Chungi right there. What is going on?
But here comes the paranoia onto Revenold. He's going to take way too much damage. He will fall. Feliz picking up that kill. They get the kill
Chungi?
as well. That is Chungi showing up even with that Chaos Storm.
Look at that damage!
He turned it on to Xerxes. He does get the kill onto Xerxes, and he will pop the Ghost and that Proto Belt to get himself out of dodge.
I don't know. I feel like Chungi could have actually stuck around a little bit longer right there. Tried to 1v1 Sweet Thing on the back of that one. Still a 1-for-2 trade. Going to be in favor of Ascension. And I was wondering why exactly Feliz didn't try to burst down the Drake. It's because of a play like that. Please no ganks, and Revenold had their eyes, their target set straight onto Xerxes. They did end up getting him, and now they're TPing bot lane.
Yeah, they got the TP behind. They get the stun onto Chris. Chris will be the sacrificial lamb. He tries to flash out of there with the ace in the hole and the heal coming in. He will fall. That is exhaust on a Mr. Zarb as well. But they used a lot to try to keep Chris Senpai alive, even though he fell in the end.
And I love the switch up coming here. Now Revenold maybe going up to the top lane to farm. There will be enough time for Please No Ganks to recall, pick up that wave. So Revenold did wind up deciding not to go ahead and clear that wave. But it is fun seeing the top laners making the ganks happen. Then having the jungler still able to react. And now here comes Feliz. No ulti though.
But yeah, no paranoia going to be in there. But there's no mana really on S2. He's going to use that spell shield as well as that chilling smite. He's going to get the kill before the Cosmic Radiance does come out from wings. Yeah, way too late on that ultimate is right.
Yeah, and at the same time, Revenold had the Void Rush. He could have gone down to his Krugs onto one of the tunnels down there, tried to make something happen. Instead, though, Feliz starting this up on top of a ward.
Yeah, but Chungi's going to be there with Revenold. They get the slow onto Feliz. That's the flash unburrow onto Sweet Thing and to Feliz. They have a lot of damage, but Revenold...
There's no Hemo Plague!
From that passive, they lose that kill onto the right side.
Oh, man.
Right, the Hemo Plague was not there to do that AoE damage, so they will lose that Ocean Drake.
Yeah, Hemo Plague is actually up now, though, so if Chungi wanted to do something absolutely nuts, could have opted into a play like that, but still not going to be the case. And it was just a situation where 2 members of the same team were on different pages. Right there. Revenold wanted to flash on in. Chungi said, hey, I don't have ulti, so I can't actually assist you. We can't burst down those targets. And once Revenold flashes in, there's no way on out.
And not to mention, it was a 4v2. Really not a good play for the side of gamers with attitude. But in the end, at least they only lost the one in Revenold. But now he's going to go into the top lane and try to make another gank onto Xerxes. They will get that knockup of the flash from the Nautilus. Will keep him safe.
Yeah, maybe there's potential for a return gank, but look at the roam. Once again, Sweet Thing coming up here into the top lane after a gank did occur. Feliz is going to be the one to pick up the minions in the mid lane, so Feliz no gank should expect that there was something funky going on. There's no real reason for Feliz to be farming the mid lane unless Sweet Thing was looking for a roam, and they know he's been prone to do that in the past.
Yeah, so we won't see exactly where Sweet Thing decides to go, because he needs to do something in another lane, because he is not having a good time against Chongi at all in that mid lane.
Nope,
So,
not at all.
there we go. Was losing my voice there for a second, but I'm back. So, right now we are just seeing, again, the lanes going back. Even though it is 19 minutes into the game, a lot of times you will see towers falling, laning phase kind of ending, but both teams still opting to just try to see if they can get more farm under their belt. Want to keep everything going as long as possible before they really want to get into these team fights, especially if you're on the side of Ascension. They want to keep ramping up Feliz as much as possible.
Right, Feliz 303 right now. He's going for a lethality build. So again, the Blood Razor did not come through. You were mentioning that earlier. It was the Warrior, the full AD route that I think we all sort of expected. But again, this champion, while it has 100% KP right now, that's kill participation, he will fall off. There's only one target he can ever jump onto, and that's going to be Asu. And when you have tools like the Tark, like the Stand United, again, it's going to be very hard in a team fight to actually burst down that champion. And even just trying to pick off the Caitlyn by herself, there's always the global of the Shen to help her out.
Yeah, but we haven't really seen those used effectively to save Asu at all. We saw the Cosmic Radiance come in a little too late, so Feliz was able to get that kill before, and Zero Stand United's onto Asu to really protect him whenever that Nocturne does jump onto the Caitlyn.
Yeah, speaking of Nocturne jumping on Caitlyn, Feliz is waiting in the back of the lane, but the mid laner, jungler of Gamers with Attitude are roaming down here, trying to just dive these guys under tower.
Yeah, but we saw Revenant spot out Feliz, so they know that he's there. Gonna back off, not go for that hard commit onto the tower.
Yep, no funky business gonna actually hang on right there, but there was no ward, so Feliz can still stick around. Asu Wings have to give the respect necessary, because by now Revenant has left the area. Chongi is back in the mid lane, so it looks like things are just gonna fizzle out for now.
Yeah, we saw that Wings was backing off. They just not wanting to play that one too aggressively, as they are getting a little pushed up by Chris Senpai and by Mr. Zarb, so they're not too worried about getting dove themselves, thinking that Feliz won't have the damage to fully die.
Oh, here's Feliz. He used the blast cone to get over that wall, trying to dodge out wards, but he is on one. You gotta have a pink ward there if you're gonna make a play like that, unless you're going right off the bat.
Yeah, so gonna be spotted out, doesn't realize that the ward is there, and it's just very interesting that neither team's fully finding their opportunity to get somewhere on the map. Even though we do see Feliz being 3-0-3, he still feels like he's relegated to having to gank, that they have to get these towers and these objectives because they don't know any other way to really pressure down the objectives themselves.
Right, well, no team really wants to make that proactive play because they know there's tools to be collapsed upon, to be countered in that sense. We think back to top lane, Gamers with Attitude. They tried to kill Xerxes. It ended up that it was a 3 versus 2. It didn't go all that well for them. And there's all these global tools on both sides, teleports for the top laners as well. So if a fight breaks out, it will very quickly be a 5 versus 5. And right now the game is so close that we can't really call the fight going one way or another definitively.
Very true, especially if they're able to burst down Feliz on the side of Gamers with Attitude. That's where a lot of the gold is kind of given to, is onto that Nocturne. And if he dies, that really can show that Gamers with Attitude can win a fight very decisively.
Yeah, well, especially come late game, we're gonna need Zarb and Sweet Thing to get ahead, and that's why we got Rek'Sai down here.
Yeah, he's trying to make a gank, but the ward was spotted out, so Chris Senpai and Mr. Zarb back off instantly, not wanting to give over any kills to Asu or to Wings.
This is so interesting to watch, because Feliz is just always down in the spot lane. He's got camps up that he could go farm if he wanted to, but every time they spot out Rebinal on this bottom half of the map, he's straight up on a ward in that pixel brush right now. Feliz wants to stick around, wants to make sure his bot lane is safe, and while he's trading off, items, gold, experience for that, maybe if he's able to make a play work in his favor, that will be the payoff that he's been looking for. That's it.
Jarb took a lot of damage. Aisu is way far out. The Cosmic Radiance will come in, and that is going to be that.
Oh, here comes the collapse.
But they're going to get collapsed. Yeah, Revenant is coming behind. Here comes the TP as well from, please no gigs, but canceled by the side of Exercius. Now we have Revenant coming in, the flash coming in from Mr. Jarb.
Oh, man.
Great Hemo play. That will pick up so many kills. They get all 3 members on the side of Ascension.
And Please No Gang still has a stand united. Sure, the teleport was canceled right there, but it still was effective in making Mr. Zarb believe that he had to go for the all-in. He sacrificed himself for that. Still though, a turret in the mid lane was secured for Sweet Thing. That solo gold will try to equal out the footing between him and Chongi, but this 4-0 Vladimir with 2 full items working on the Zonias now, has all the components for that, is miles ahead of the opposition.
Not to mention 8 stacks on that Dark Seal. Definitely going to help out with that AP. Chongi is someone to be reckoned with in this game. Gotta fear the Vladimir and what he's been bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I mean, oh, top lane though, look at that.
Ganks, he's taking really low. Gotta be careful because Exercius doesn't care about towers at this point. There comes the shield from Please No Ganks. Exercius will back off eventually. Not able to secure that kill.
Exercius used the ultimate trying to cancel out the teleport. Otherwise, that very easily would have actually just been a straight up 1 versus 1 dive there for the Nautilus. Not a thing you get to say a whole lot.
Well, here comes the paranoia onto Chungi. They want to get this guy down. He's very tanky, though. Has that Spirit Visage. Here comes the standing.
He can turn this.
The redemption. They want to turn that. That won't be the Shadow Dash connecting, but they're able to keep Chungi alive further into this game.
Exercius too with the 1v2, he's gonna get out no problem right there. And honestly, a little bit too cautious there from Chongi. I think he could have just tried to turn that one straight around. You see the Hemo play just came back off of cooldown too, so if that fight had just lasted a little bit longer, had Ascension actually committed, it would have been tragic. And now we've got 2 members, Please No Ganks and Revenol, trying to save this bot lane.
I think a lot of that in the mid lane, why Chongi didn't continue, was the Shadow Dash didn't connect onto anyone. And then we saw that Please No Ganks was sitting on the gravity field, so he ended up getting locked up for quite some time. But yeah, Chongi definitely has that advantage. He has the strength for his team that he can turn a lot of what looks like bad opportunities into some really advantageous plays.
Yeah, now we've got these duo lanes, sort of swapping halves of the map. The gamers with attitude, they're going to take the left-hand side, the top lane, while Ascension takes the bottom. And both these top laners, surprisingly though, are actually fantastic at just clearing the waves. Nautilus with the E, Shen with the Titanic Hydra. So even with the 2 versus 1 advantage, it's still going to be hard to make a lot of headway, especially with the junglers assisting their individual top laners.
Yeah. Gonna make it a lot easier. We see Revenant in the bot lane. They're ready for the collapse onto Mr. Jarb and Chris Senpai, but here comes Chongi as well. They use that Pyroplasm in the bot lane. Now in the top lane, we see the Paranoia coming onto Esu. Is the Cosmic Radiance gonna be in time?
Oh, he's alive!
Keep him alive!
The stun!
Kill onto Police. No! They see that we get the kill onto Esu, but Wings was able to secure that kill onto Feliz. Barely. We saw Esu going.
Oh, look at the Void Rush.
Fight. The Void Rush was coming in behind, but Exercius will be able to walk out of that one alive.
He's not, though.
Oh, he's not. He's going to keep going back in. He's going to look further as we see Please No Ganks going for a really aggressive fight as well. The Dazzle's going to lock up Exercius, but look how little damage Wings and Revenant truly bring to this. They're not even at 50% on Exercius, and they've been fighting him for quite some time now.
Nice stun. Wings had the red buff. He was trying to chase him down with that right there. But what that ulti did, sure, yeah, you force Exercius away, but at the same time, you don't have that assistance for Please No Ganks down here, and the turret will fall.
Yeah, turret's gone. Now Please No Ganks is a little far out. He's
Chongi's collapsing, though.
To Mr. Jarb, but yeah, they're just trying to bait out Mr. Jarb and Chris Senpai.
Chongi?
Now we have the ghost channeled by Chongi. They're going to have the ace in the hole. Chris Senpai just going to sacrifice his life for Mr. Jarb. The Pyroplasm not able to pick up the kill quite on the Please No Gank.
Yeah, the passive shield right there coming to Please No Gank's aid. Still, there's no real objectives to take after the fact right there, except for the mid lane, of course.
Well, I was about to say that mid lane now. Feliz is going to go on to Mr. Revenant, who is a little too far out. They're going to have Chongi go really far in with that Penguin Pool, and now we see the Chaos Storm. It's going to do a lot of damage to both Wings and Chunky, but here comes the Standing United and the Paranoia. The Redemption's going to try to see if it can keep them alive.
Huge taunt.
Really far in. They get the kill onto Felice. Here comes the Cosmic Radiance onto 4 members of the side of Gamers with Attitude. Asu finally showing up to the fight, and that is still won by the side of Gamers with Attitude.
Absolutely, and maybe they can even try to keep on sieging here, although up against the Victor with low HP bar is going to be a difficult task. Instead, they're going to set their sights towards the top lane turret. It's open, it's exposed, and at the same time there will be vision being secured by Revenant around this Drake. They're going to go top lane to bottom lane, play the entire map as a whole, and pick up as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, we see the gold difference between the teams is almost going to be 2,000 after this tower does fall. There it is, about 2,500 in the favor of Gamers with Attitude, but Ascension are doing a good job in keeping this close nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate for Ascension because they were actually keeping it dead even. It was 3-1 in turrets in their favor, and now they may be looking for a team fight.
Yeah, they want to go onto Wings before he has that Cosmic Radiance. Going to get the Dredge line onto Please No Ganks. He takes a lot of damage, has to flash out of that one as Felice shows up.
Paranoia in 5.
5 seconds left. They're going to get the taunt on to Wings. Here comes the movement speed from Felice. He backs off momentarily. The
He's
flash
got it
from Wings will keep him safe. Here comes the Paranoia. They're going to turn it on
onto
Asu.
Asu.
They wanted to get the Paranoia. They did not get the fear, but here comes the depth charge onto Asu. He's going to be locked up. Double kill coming in for Sweet Thing.
It's still 30 minutes in the game. There's potential if they wanted to try and force down this Baron, but keep in mind, Rebenold is alive. More importantly, Chongi is alive, and he can 1v5 around that Baron Nash, but the Control Ward will deny vision, and they can start it up if they want.
Yeah, they're going for it. Chungi is in the area, as we do see that Rebenold on the other side of the map has to be very careful.
They know they're on it.
That's Grier's Bloom helping them out. They see how low Felice is as well. Chongi wants to get in on this one. It's past 50%, 25% left. Rebenold coming
2K!
in.
Rebenold!
He's not going to get the smite on it. Felice will secure that, but here comes Felice No Gate with Chungi. Xerxes is stuck in the pit still, but fighting the rest of the members. Now Mr. Zarb
Chungi!
has to flash out of there. Here comes the passive. They get the kill onto Mr. Zarb. Are they going to be able to get Xerxes as the Chaos Storm is going on to Please No Gates? He's taking so much damage. The patch of the shield is still there. Sweet Thing has to be careful of Chungi.
Oh no! He's stunned!
Shut down onto the
Stand United! Look at that heal!
And he's going to be able to stay alive as we see Xerxes will fall. There is the members there to chop down that Nautilus, finally getting the kill onto him, as we see only Chris Senpai and Felice able to get out of there alive with the Baron buff.
Just like the fight in the top lane that Ascension won because all their ultimates were just barely coming back ready and available. Likewise, Gamers with Attitudes, they had their ults for that fight. Chongi ripped apart the team. The focus was a little bit split, but that caused Ascension to think that they perhaps had a winning engage. Instead, they stuck around for way too long and lost a lot of their Baron buff duration as a result.
Chongi doing work for the side of Gamers with Attitude. 6-0-2 on that Victor. Sure, they didn't get the Baron buff, but my goodness, did they win the fight afterwards.
Yeah, you're right about that one. And Chongi, we're looking at this guy. It might sound like we're beating a dead horse, but look at his items. Spirit Visage, Zonia's Hourglass, Hextech Protoval. He's working on his Rapidon's Death Cap right now. He rips apart Ascension. Even though they're forcing down these turrets, they can be flanked upon at any given moment.
Yeah, they got this Dazzle onto Chris Senpai, but here comes Sweet Thing in the back line, wanting to see if they can re-engage from
Please
the
No Ganks is flanking.
Yeah, we do see. Please No
Got him!
Oh
no!
Onto Mr. Zarb. They're gonna have
the
to
taunt land
right into that. He is down. That Asu picking up the kill now. Sweet Thing has to get away from the
no sums.
From Revenant. He is down too. Victor gonna lose his life. So they still have the Baron buff on 2 members, but losing 2 others is gonna be huge for the side of Gamers with Attitude.
The Baron is now rendered irrelevant. They got 1 turret and they lost so many lives for that objective. Now there's absolutely 0 wave clear left available, and they can go for a 5 versus 3 if they want.
Yeah, but Wings a little far out. He gets stunned up. They're
Stand United!
Down, but Stand United, look at the shields onto Wings. He is massive, and that's going to be the exhaust onto Chris Senpai. They're going to get the kill onto the Baron, even with the... Not going to be enough. Exercius trying to get himself out of there with that dredge line. Wings taken very low. Gonna have to back off of that one, but getting the kill onto Chris Senpai with that redemption gonna heal them up. They should still get the tower regardless of not having the Baron buff.
Yeah, Victor will be coming up in 5 seconds though, so going on to the inhibitor, probably not going to be a reality here for Gamers with Attitude, even though they do have the double Mountain Drake. But that was a fantastic sequence right there, for them to just jump back straight into the league, make the Baron buff irrelevant, and go ahead when all is said and done.
Yeah, it's gotta love what Chungi and the squad are doing for their team, really helping out, especially Wings. The Cosmic Radiances have been a little bit delayed at times, but still, the fact that he's able to help out, keep his team alive in some of these re-engages that they want to go for has been very key to their success.
And continuing with our focus on a lot of these items, now we've got Asu. He's got his double Zeal items, all the crit chance in the world. He is now up to 80% plus a Last Whisper to try and cut through the tankier members, to try and rip through Exercius. He's absolutely come online. The rest of his team, his front line, is tanky enough. They've got all the tools. And Feliz, remember, at one point in this game, he was 3-0-3. Since then, he's died 3 times without getting a single kill for himself. And he realizes he's got to start building tanky because he's unable to assassinate any targets in these team fights. And when he tries to, he just gets one-shot.
Yeah, and if he doesn't kill them fast enough, then Wings is able to get that Cosmic Radiance. We saw how clutch that can be at times, allowing Asu to live long enough for them to get a return kill onto Feliz, which that was the play that we saw earlier when he dove with Exercius onto Asu and Wings, but fell himself to and Wings picking up the kill, which was funnily enough. But now we look at the map and how the pressure's coming in. The wards are still there for the side of Ascension, but Wings a little far out. Has to flash himself to safety.
Oh, Feliz.
Now, Feliz stepped on a trap, not willingly, and took a headshot. That's a lot of damage just from one auto.
Yeah, a lot of damage is an understatement right there. And while all of this was going on in the top lane, Please No Ganks has continued to shove. So this group as 5 tactic for Ascension did not work, and now Gamers with Attitudes are winning around the map. Although Please No Ganks could potentially be collapsed upon.
He will pick up the tower for his team.
Look at Feliz on the minimap.
Yeah, he is pathed that way, but he's too far out and sees...
He might be caught out.
Yeah, he might be caught out. Oh, yeah, he's definitely caught out. Revenald's going to notice that. They're going to knock him
off.
It will be blocked by that spell shield, but Please No Ganks is there to secure that kill easily.
Yep, with Baron and Dragon coming up in a minute 30, Feliz will respawn in time for those objectives, and still, it's not going to be the most impactful thing right here, unless Gamers with Attitude try to force a dive, which is something their composition actually can do. Taric, Vladimir, Shen, all of these champions are going to be able to get underneath the turret and take virtually no damage whatsoever. So even through all the wave clear, they can just erase that, forget about that, by trying to force a teamfight 5v4.
Especially with the build that we've seen built by Chungi. You talked about how a lot of Vladimirs tend to go for more of that AP focused build, but he feels like it's much better to go for that focus around the tankiness, get himself that MR, keep himself healthy whenever it comes to these fights, and just delay the damage and let a lot of that burst come from Asu.
I don't know if it's fair to call this a tanky build by the Vladimir. Really, Spirit Visage is the only item. Yeah, of course. The Pexec, Protobelt, Zonia is all very standard, but he does ridiculous amounts of damage. Just staying through the roof. Asu in trouble! He's gone!
Too far out. Look at the deletion that came. That's a horrible misstep coming in.
They're still going for the fight.
They're trying to see if they can turn this around. Here comes the Cosmic Radiance, and the Redemption will hit on the 3 members.
Oh, Vladimir.
Getting a great taunt as well. Mr. Jarv in the background trying to just run away from Revenald, but he will get that unburrow onto the Ezreal. One more hit, they get that depth charge, gonna lock up that Rek'Sai, but the Rek'Sai is barely tanky. Chris Senpai getting chased down by Chungi, and now Exercius being the last member on his team.
That's it!
Finally, the ace coming in. They only lost the bot lane from the side of Gamers with Attitude. Long death timers they possibly could end.
Yeah, well, I thought Gamers with Attitude were going to try and force the team fight underneath the turret when they themselves had the numbers advantage. Instead, they took the 4 versus 5. They didn't have their Caitlyn. It was all Chongi. The crowd control coming through. The taunt was perfect. The stun, the dazzle, absolutely fantastic from Wings. And they are going to clean up shop in our longest game of the tournament thus far.
Yeah, but Revenant still taking the tower, barely gonna survive that one. Finally, they get that Nexus tower, and there is gonna go the Nexus. We do see the timers for Felice is gonna be up in time, gonna get himself a kill in the trade for that, but that will be the game secured by the side of Gamers with Attitude.
A valiant effort and a very, very long stall right there by Ascension. It was by no means a blowout like we've been seeing. We haven't had a close game yet, in all honesty, but Ascension kept it close. It was really just this Vladimir, absolutely unkillable within the team fights, and all the gold that was soaked by Feliz in the early stages of the game didn't wind up paying off because he had no durability, no way to keep himself afloat in these 5 versus 5s.
Yeah, so a lot of prompts has to go to Please No Games in that last fight too. The double taunt that allowed Chungi to just get that amazing burst damage on to the members of Ascension really was a key moment in that fight. But like you had mentioned, it's just there's no way for Feliz to really snowball that advantage that they had gained. And then we saw Chungi and Please No Games being not only tanky enough, but doing enough damage to really just carry the team.
Right, and as this game did come to a close, we are going to jump over to a quick break once more. Our next match will feature Integrity and TTN. So if you like those teams, if you like League of Legends, stick around. We'll be back just after this short break.
Officers, what's going on?
We're in the middle of an epic car chase.
Is that why you're moving in slow motion?
Epic car chases are always done in slow motion.
That's a bit cliche. Going for a donut.
Donuts.
Smart.
The moment the juice gently drips down your patty. When your taste buds meet real wholesome meat, that's when you know you're in a point of no return. You realize you're lost in the pleasures only a true meal can offer. You're lost, but you sure as hell don't want to be found. Hugo's Burger Bar. Let's burger like never before.
Life's about looking for little moments of happiness. Moments when we come out of the cold and into the welcoming warmth. Delicious leisurely mornings or long lazy afternoons where we dream sweet dreams and take the time to finally be ourselves. When you find these little moments of happiness, life becomes irresistible, a journey to be enjoyed. And Costa is there with you, every sip of the way.